Last time on Sailing Zatara.
We made the Great Pacific Ocean crossing, 4,000 nautical miles, from Panama to French Polynesia. And after 27 days and 26 nights, we arrived safely in Nuku, Hiva in the Marquesas Islands.
I tell you a story about me and you, out on the water, surrounded by the blue. They scream that only I'll be saved. They toss off the line, but I just let it float away. Yeah, I'll let it float away. I'll let it float away. I'll let it float away. Float away, float away. Yeah, I'll let it float away. I'll let it float away. I'll let it float away.
The finish line after a 4-week sailing marathon is the magnificent Marquesas Islands in French Polynesia. We finally drop anchor in the northernmost island of Nuku, Hiva. Once we drop anchor, we should get some rest after such a long passage, but for some reason we always get right to work. After dumping trash and cleaning up the boat a bit, we go get checked in to French Polynesia, restock with groceries and fuel before it's time to go play. Two years ago, after our very first Pacific Ocean crossing, we ventured to all the different islands of the Marquesas. We spent several weeks exploring the beaches and the waters. We enjoyed learning about the local culture and history, and we hiked and we swam. So this time we decided to just spend a short time here before moving on.
We're going straight to Raroia.
How many night shifts are we going to deal with?
2 or 3.
After a week in the Marquesas, we move on south, 470 miles to the Tuamotus.
Give it 1,000% and she'll make it.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Got it.
Get hurt, then you get hurt.
And he doesn't do it.
3.
Mayo!
1.
Mayo!
Whoa! I can't spring.
You're really scared. Daddy's getting scared.
Oh yeah, he'll do it all the way.
He's like frowning. He's like,
The main reason we pulled our kids out of the vacuum of suburban America and set off on a boat was to have this invaluable time with them. To know they're seeing and doing things they'd never experience or even learn about in a traditional lifestyle. Where we encounter the unknown, we expand the depths of our courage and our self-confidence. We swim with sharks, for instance, and shatter all the preconceived fears and notions that society had blinded us to. And then when they make friends out here to share these experiences with, it just rounds out what we think their childhood should look like.
Being a kid on a boat is way easier than being a teenager on a boat or a young adult on a boat.
I agree.
Because, like, being a kid, you're not worried about, like, I mean, you just make friends with whoever, but when you're a teenager, it's like you don't have certain aspects of socializing, and it's not like you hanging out with friends every weekend and all that.
And
It's that wording. Being a kid is easier than being a teenager.
Yeah, a teenager, you've got
You're more concerned about,
future to think about.
I'm 16 and I still hang out with all the little kids.
And so do I.
Yeah,
You really take what you can get.
take what you can get. But don't you think that's a good thing, to expand your peer group? Because in a school setting, you're only in a classroom with people that are your age. And so you only get their perspective on life and their interests, and you don't have to learn to be patient.
Hanging out with the same group of 9-year-olds gets kind of tiring after a while when all they want to do is go run around in the woods and start fires and do all sorts of stuff.
Maybe you're learning patience and understanding.
Hey, it builds character.
Builds character, exactly.
Whenever, I was thinking about it last night, whenever you meet a new kid boat, it takes like a while of knowing each other to get used to each other and to be comfortable. Like I recall inviting Elysian over here, and Gidge was he was kind of uncomfortable. He was just sitting here, you know, kind of what I do. And now whenever he comes over, he's just like lay down, you know, get himself water, do whatever he wants.
The awkwardness is gone.
Yeah, it's faded. We're past that part.
When you come across or even choose to sail with other kid boats, especially when they speak your language, it makes the journey so much more fun and allows the kids to make diverse friends and step out of their comfort zone to learn about and to hang out with other sailing kids. Our kids still stay in touch with some of the friends they met 2 years ago, so you never know.
God bless.
Hey guys, we are here in the beautiful paradise of the Tuamotus. We love Raroia so much that we just decided to sit and chill out here for about 2 weeks. We have been paddleboarding and snorkeling and swimming. We have hung out with sharks. The kids camped out on the beach. We've had bonfires. We have flies. We also visited the local pearl farm. We've been joined here by several other kid boats in this bay, and so I thought it would be a neat idea to kind of pick their brains and just get their perspective on what life is like going from a normal lifestyle to a sailing lifestyle. So instead of our normal Q&A at the end of the show, for the next few episodes, we'll have a featured sailing family where we just give you a glimpse into their life. And with that being said, let's just get started. Our first family is from New Zealand on the boat Nikau.
Hey everyone, we are from the boat called Nikau. It's a 50-foot Bavaria monohull, We have 3 kids on board, as you can see. This is David, he's the youngest. How old are you, mate?
12.
And this is Bella, she's in the middle.
I'm 14.
And Naomi, who is?
I'm 16.
And we've been out sailing this is our 3rd year now. We started over in the Med for a couple of seasons. We've crossed the Atlantic and now we're here in the Pacific. Before we moved onto the boat, our kids were in public school in New Zealand.
That makes it great.
We were okay with the whole public school system, but I think as parents we were quite flexible with it as well. We were always taking the kids out to go skiing, and on holiday we always would talk to the teachers and say, look, we think hanging out with the family is more important really than their education. Not that we don't think education is important, but we were definitely a little countercultural. I think for both of us we looked at normal culture, and we didn't want our kids to grow up too fast. We thought, and we want to keep them as young as long as possible. We want them to have their freedoms. We want to have them, hate to use words like keeping their innocence, but that kind of thing. Like all of their friends were just growing up so much, and we wanted them to be tight with their family, and we wanted to have that time with them. More and more as kids, they were just getting closer and closer to their friends and spending less and less time with their family. Their friends were their family, and we were like, oh, it just didn't feel right, and we wanted to change that, and we wanted to take them on an adventure, we wanted them to see the world, we wanted them to think big. I think you can get a bit insular in your thinking, and so we just wanted to lift the roof off all of that.
We really wanted them to understand about other cultures, other parts of the world, have empathy for how other people live, open their eyes to the way that we live in New Zealand. It's just one way of how so many people live all over the world, and it's really opened their eyes to different cultural issues, political issues, economic issues, environmental issues. Like, so much education happens as well that you'd never get just in the school system, and that's been really cool. So we've been out for 3 years. We had 2 years in the Med, and then we crossed the Atlantic. We had 3 months in the Caribbean. Now we've crossed into the Pacific, and we're doing 6 months here. Then we're going to end up in New Zealand, which is our home. And we don't know what our plans are yet. We're going to see, because nobody wants to go back to school.
No. We do 3 hours of school a day, alright? So I do history, math, English, like all the norm. And then I go out and I go snorkeling and I learn about new types of fish. Or I go and I do some cooking with Dad, or we go and we learn about a new culture, or we learn about history, or we talk to some people and they tell us about the elections that are happening. We learn about what's happening in that country at the moment. And
with normal school, you just spend 6 hours a day doing math and stuff, and it's just real boring. And I think you learn a lot more on the boat, and you get to experience more, but you still do all the academics things.
Yeah.
But I think the boat life is much better, and I just really don't like sport.
But you love to swim, you love to scuba dive. It's not that you're not active, it's just you don't like organised sport. Like in school, I think the frustration with the school system is there's so much wasted time, like all that going on the bus, sitting in assembly.
So what's it been like for you guys?
Making
friends. What are some of the struggles that you've had?
It was really hard the first 6 months, making friends. Well, when you're at school, you're forced to make friends, and you make friends with people who are similar to you. Like, so I go and I make a friend who's really like a really close friend to me, and they have heaps in common. But you come onto a boat and no one speaks your language most of the time, and when you do meet people, they're nothing like you, and they're 3 years younger than you, or 4 years older than you, and you just, so for the first year we just struggled to meet people and like them.
I think you do have to work really hard to make connections in the sailing community, and it actually takes time. Just like if you move to a new city, it will take time to meet people. It takes time to meet other boats, to make connections, and you have to work hard at it. But you can do that. You can join Facebook groups. You need to be really proactive and trying to figure out who's out on a boat, who has kids the same age as yours, and Facebook really helps with that. Talking to people helps with that. Sometimes you randomly meet people in a bay, but actually most of the time you actually have to work hard to find them, and then you have to sometimes change your plans to be with those people so that your kids can have friends, and that just takes a bit of time. I think that's why we didn't know many people in our first season, but in our second season we were inundated with people. We had so many people, and now we're here in the Pacific in the middle of nowhere with there's 4 boats all with teenagers.
I think it's important to also point out that it's a big transition for the kids to at school, back in the normal world, they almost get relationships come a wee bit more naturally because they're put in the class, they sit next to people, and conversations will start up. Whereas it's a little bit more like the normal world here, where they've got to jump in a dinghy or jump on a paddleboard, go to another boat, and spark up a conversation with someone from a totally different country. Sometimes, like Naomi said, people that speak different languages. And I think for all of you guys, it's a good point to make that none of you really wanted to go on the boat in the first place.
No, none of us wanted to be on the
So
boat.
when the parents are going, this is a great thing, we should go for it, we're going to do it, what sort of advice would you give to the kids?
For parents,
Are you going to give parental advice?
parenting advice,
Yeah, okay.
Of course you are.
because as a kid, I complained so much to mum and dad. I was like, please don't take me on the boat. Even for the first 6 months we were on the boat, I was like crying. I was like,
You
Mum
were
and Dad, I
14.
hate this.
Yeah.
Don't listen to your kids. They don't know what they're talking about. After 6 months, I'll be like, woo, this is the best thing in the world.
It could take months. It could take a year.
Years.
Before
It
they
wasn't
like
actually until we went home. Do you want to say about
It
that?
wasn't until so we did our first 6 months on the boat. So we flew over to Europe and we got our boat, and we did 6 months in Europe, and then we flew back home for summer.
And that whole time you were pining for your friends.
I was
and pining for high school and just miserable.
I was
really.
really looking forward to seeing my friends, and I went back, and most of the people I knew didn't really, well, they remembered me, but they didn't really care anymore. What I found the most challenging is that I had become, because you're overseas and doing all these amazing things and you're learning things, you change as a person every day. Like, you become different. And they didn't change. They had the same lives because they live in one town and they do the same thing every weekend. So I went back and everyone was the same and I wasn't.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Wow.
it doesn't really work anymore.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting because a lot of parents fret when their kids get older, and a lot of them bail and just go, because their teenagers are going, oh no, we don't like it, we don't have friends, it's not working, we're really depressed. And I think you've got to be a parent. You've got to know that actually, as a parent, we know what's best for our children. And you've got to kind of persevere, and that's actually really difficult. And what makes it even more difficult is often you've got family back at home, and they don't understand the whole boating lifestyle. You've got the whole school culture back at home going, you're crazy trying to homeschool, and so you've got to make a decision right from the beginning that we are going to live counterculturally, we're going to do this, it's going to be a big adventure, it's going to bring our family closer together, and you've got to stick with your decisions that you make, even when your kids don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you're really ruthless, and you definitely talk it through and you listen to them and all that sort of stuff, but I think some parents just need to be parents, eh?
Absolutely.
And this was another good thing, eh? Taking the animals.
we got really way more happy when we came back the second time. We brought the pets with us, and it became
Cat
more
and
like
dog.
a home. We started to treat it more as not like a temporary thing, but a home. When pets came and we sold the house and we got a new
Brought
one
the
back in New
PlayStation?
Zealand.
Yeah.
Brought the PlayStation.
PlayStation, you like that, didn't you?
Yeah.
So you make the boat a home, and it
Yeah.
definitely can work. Kids may not like it, may take months, but
The kids can't actually do anything about that, so you just gotta live for it.
You can make it way more fun though. Getting pets, if you can afford it, get a generator, get a PlayStation, make it a real fun thing for the kids, you know.
you love it now, right?
Yeah.
And nobody wants to go home, and nobody really wants to
It's just flies.
change
Yeah.
Annoying.
It's just
We
here,
don't
though.
normally have this many
We
flies,
didn't have them
unfortunately. But we are really close now as a family, and that's one really big benefit, is that we're so close, and these guys are so close with each other. And at home, you could just see, like, with the teenage things that happen at home, they just go to school, they come home, just go straight to their room, start texting their friends, come out for meals, hardly say a nice word to each other or to us, and that's what we really hated. And that was part of the reason, the big part of the reason that we wanted to come away from that whole system or that way of living and do something different.
I talk to my old friends now, and they don't really understand the fact that my best friends are my family. Like, these are my best friends now. I have other friends, but these are my main ones. And I talk to my friends back home, and they just don't get that. Yeah. And I don't get the fact that they're like, oh, I can't wait until I can leave home. I'm like, I don't want to leave home.
The transition from them being at school to, we actually did correspondence school in New Zealand,
Okay.
but that was really hard. we had a lot of tears from me and from them.
Yeah.
So like I'm not a teacher and I've never homeschooled. So and they had teachers online in New Zealand. So we did all the schooling online, and even that was just really difficult. It was a really hard transition. So that's not easy, but you will get there. And now, because we have no internet in the Pacific, we've transitioned just to bookwork, which is pretty much just like homeschooling.
It's been the biggest struggle for us as parents, the whole schooling thing, because it's difficult for your kids to adjust for your parents being teachers, you know, and they don't treat you with the same sort of respect that they would give a teacher at school.
No.
And it takes a little while for them to get that, you know.
That's been the hardest thing, is school. But it's still worth it. But it is hard. If you can get a system with books rather than an online thing, I think I'd recommend that, having done both.
Awesome. Thank you guys
Good
so
one.
much.
No worries.
What an awesome family. We have been sailing with Nikau for on and off for probably the last year or so. I hope this was helpful to you. If you're one of the many families out there who are considering taking your school-age kids and taking them sailing. And as always, if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe and share with your family and friends. Join us next Thursday for another fun-filled Z episode and another featured sailing family. Bye!